Hold on tight, because we're not tiptoeing into this one. Today we're diving into a car that didn't just transport people, it transported an entire era of American arrogance, ambition, and outright absurdity. We're talking about the Cadillac Fleetwood, a car so lavish it made rivals look like economy rentals, yet so flawed it nearly torpedoed Cadillac's reputation. You think you know luxury? Wait until you hear about the British origins they tried to hide, the engines so big they triggered oil crises, and the secret markets that refused to let the Fleetwood die, even when the public did. This is no puff piece. These are the shocking secrets Cadillac doesn't want you to know. And before we crack open this treasure chest of automotive drama, smash that subscribe button like you're slamming a Cadillac door shut on your nosy neighbour. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next, because our first secret takes us far from Detroit. Let's start where Cadillac never wanted you to look. The truth about the Fleetwood name itself. Let's kill the myth right now. Fleetwood sounds 100% American, right? Like apple pie and baseball? Wrong. The Fleetwood name came straight from England. Cadillac didn't invent it, they bought it. Originally, the Fleetwood Metal Body Company was a bespoke coach builder founded in the 19th century. Named after Fleetwood, a small English town, they built carriages. That's right, horse-drawn, aristocrat-flavoured carriages. Cadillac loved their attention to detail so much they bought the whole operation in the 1920s. Why? Because they wanted to outdo Packard and Pierce Arrow in the luxury wars. Fleetwood interiors were so meticulously built that Cadillac introduced the glove test. Every panel had to fit so perfectly you could run a white glove over it and not snag a single thread. They sold customers on the fantasy of all-American luxury, but conveniently left out the part about outsourcing their design DNA from merry old England. Funny how marketing works, right? But that European obsession with craftsmanship led to Cadillac stuffing their cars with over-the-top hidden gadgets that would make James Bond blush. Don't go anywhere, because up next we're digging into the secret luxury gadgets Cadillac hid in plain sight. Fleetwoods weren't just cars, they were rolling showcases of Cadillac's one-upmanship. We're talking power everything before anyone else thought it was necessary. Power windows, standard in many trims in the 1950s. Six-way power seats? Check. Automatic climate control. They called it comfort control in the 60s. A true set-it-and-forget-it luxury feature. But here's where it gets wild. Cadillac offered automatic dimming headlights in the 1950s and 60s. A photoelectric sensor on the dash detected oncoming headlights and dimmed your high beams automatically. Basically, Cadillac was showing off their version of smart car tech when computers were the size of rooms. And let's not forget the Twilight Sentinel. You could set a timer so your headlights stayed on after you parked, long enough to find your front door in style. Then there were bizarre luxuries like optional built-in CB radios in the 1970s. Owners could chat with truckers or fellow caddy drivers about whose car got worse gas mileage. And some Fleetwoods had carpet so plush you could lose your dog in it. But all these flashy features came at a cost, and nowhere was that cost more obvious than under the hood, where Cadillac hid absolute monsters. Let's talk excess. The Cadillac Fleetwood was not subtle. In 1970, the standard engine was a 472 cubic inch, 7.7-litre V8, producing 375 horsepower and 525 lb-ft of torque. That's enough to power a small tugboat, and Cadillac thought, meh, let's go bigger. So in 1974 they introduced the ** 500 cubic inch 8.2-litre. V8 **, the biggest displacement production V8 ever in an American passenger car. Horsepower was technically only around 190-235 thanks to emissions restrictions, but torque stayed massive, around 400 plus lb-ft. It was less fast than it was unstoppable. Like driving a velvet-wrapped freight train. Fuel economy? Ha! 6-8 miles per gallon on a good day. Your wallet needed its own bank account just for gas, but Cadillac sold it as the ultimate in smoothness. You could barely hear the engine running. It would just glide *. People loved the power, but the 1970s oil crises hit like a wrecking ball. Suddenly having a mobile oil refinery in your driveway wasn't so cool. And this is where Cadillac made the design change that split their fans in two. 1977 was the year everything changed. The oil crisis wasn't going away, politicians were screaming about fuel economy, consumers were broke from high gas prices. Cadillac had a choice: adapt or die. They chose to shrink the Fleetwood. It was radical. Wheelbase dropped over 11 inches. Weight cut by approximately 800 pounds. Giant engines replaced by smaller 425 cubic inch V8s with approximately 180 HP. And in the early 80s, Cadillac introduced the 4.1-litre V864, which used primitive electronics to deactivate cylinders on the fly. It sounded brilliant on paper, good fuel economy and big engine feel, but in reality, it broke constantly. Owners hated it, mechanics hated it. Even GM engineers were reportedly embarrassed. Some lifelong Cadillac buyers defected to Lincoln over this single engine, yet downsizing did keep them afloat, sort of. It was a desperate gamble that Cadillac couldn't avoid. And just when fans started to accept it, they did something even more shocking. They made the Fleetwood front-wheel drive. Now, let's get real controversial. In the 1980s, GM's grand plan was to move everything to front-wheel drive for better efficiency and interior space. And so, the once mighty Cadillac Fleetwood became a front-wheel drive sedan. For old-school buyers, it was like their brawny, swaggering uncle turned into a polite accountant overnight. Gone was the long, imposing rear-wheel drive stance. Instead, you got smaller engines, even a 4.5-litre V8 later on, making approximately 155-180 GP. Softer ride, front-wheel drive layout that made burnouts a joke. The backlash was real. Cadillac dealerships had older buyers complaining they'd ruined the car. GM tried to argue it was modern, efficient, and better in snow, which was true, but no one cared. Ironically, near the end of its life in the mid-90s, Cadillac quietly switched the Fleetwood back to rear-wheel drive with the massive 5.7-litre LT1 V8 from the Corvette, making approximately 260 HP. It was almost an apology, and that last generation was beloved, especially by one unlikely customer base that kept buying them even when everyone else gave up. Let's talk about the real reason Cadillac kept making Fleetwoods for so long. It wasn't the suburban dentist who needed to show off at the country club. It was special markets. Mob bosses loved Fleetwoods. You could order them armoured with bulletproof glass and reinforced doors. Rumour has it more than a few trunks carried things you wouldn't want to find at the family picnic. Funeral homes kept Cadillac alive too. The Fleetwood's huge frame and dignified styling made it the go-to choice for hearses and limousines. Diplomats adored them. They projected old-school class without being too flashy. Enough chrome to look expensive, but not enough to look vulgar. Even when sales to regular buyers collapsed in the 80s and 90s, these niche customers kept ordering them in small but steady numbers. Fleetwood wasn't just a car, it was an institution, a vehicle that refused to die even when its era was over. And that, more than anything, is the real shocking secret of the Fleetwood. It lived on in places Cadillac never even advertised. So what's the real story here? The Cadillac Fleetwood wasn't just a luxury car, it was a mirror held up to America. It showed our hunger for size, power, comfort and prestige, even when it was impractical or absurd. It survived scandals, design betrayals, downsizing and technological flops. And even when Cadillac turned its back on the big rear-wheel drive monsters, loyal buyers, funeral directors, mobsters and diplomats refused to let it die. It was excess. It was innovation. It was a cautionary tale. And today, it's a legend. If you enjoyed uncovering these secrets with me, hit that subscribe button for more deep dives, laughs and car stories you won't hear anywhere else. Because at AbTech Lab, we don't just talk cars, we reveal their souls. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.